California's Prop 12 is going before the Supreme Court this fall. That is the law that California voters overwhelmingly approved in 2018, allowing certain farm animals a little more space in their cage. It is facing a challenge from factory farm pork producers who say regulating how animals are treated here in California isn't fair to farmers in other states. Joining us now is Wayne Pacelle. He worked on the Prop 12 campaign, and he's the president of a Center for Humane Economy. Thanks for joining us, Wayne.
Great to be with you.
Now, for those who aren't familiar with the rules currently governing how animals that are raised for food are treated, there aren't a lot of rules. It's in large part a self-governing industry. If you can describe a little bit about that.
Well, there are no federal standards, whatever, with respect to the treatment of animals on the farm. There are some state standards. California has really been at this for 14 years. In 2008, Californians passed Prop 2 by a very wide margin to stop the most extreme forms of confinement in agriculture. And those methods are the small veal crates that have young male calves in 22-inch wide stalls, inhibiting them from even turning around. Also, breeding sows in the pig industry, they're kept in 2-foot by 7-foot cages that also prevent them from engaging in the most basic movements, including turning around. And then finally, in the laying hen industry to produce eggs, the hens are kept in battery cages, which are small wire cages about the size of a microwave, and 6 or 8 birds are crammed into that space. So essentially, you have several forms of confinement that are so severe that the animals are immobilized for very long periods of their life. California voters rejected it in 2008. Lawmakers in Sacramento built on that in 2010, forbidding the sale of eggs that don't meet those standards, no matter where the hens are housed. Then in 2018, as you noted, Prop 12 built on that further and said essentially that you've got to have very specific standards for spacing, so the animals have to be able to move a little bit. And then if you want to sell pork or eggs in the state, no matter where you are, you have to conform to these standards. But it was a fair system. What was asked of California producers is also asked of Iowa or North Carolina producers if they want to sell into California.
Now, the Federal Justice Department has come up in support of the pork producers, saying in its brief against Prop 12 that it doesn't appear to protect either Californians or the animals that Californians seek to protect. What is your response to that?
Well, we have a 180-year tradition in the United States of being concerned about animal cruelty. The first anti-cruelty statutes were passed in the early part of the 19th century. Now, every state has an anti-cruelty law. We have a wide range of other statutes protecting animals. The states have authority under the Constitution to protect animals. What's more, when it comes to these factory farms and the inhumane treatment of animals in overcrowded conditions, is we have pathogens and other foodborne illness issues that really ground the concerns of Californians to have a more humane, sustainable, and safe food system. So Californians knew exactly what they were doing when they had landslide votes in favor of Prop 2 in 2008 and then Prop 12 in 2018. And essentially what the pork industry is saying is, listen, we're blocking any federal laws for animals. We also want to nullify state laws. We want to basically have a deregulated environment. We want to do whatever we want to animals. That's not how our system works. The states are laboratories of democracy. California was grounded in its concern in caring about animals and also caring about food safety. And it was not protectionist. California's not saying, well, you can't bring your commodities into the state. They're saying, bring pork, bring eggs into the state, but conform to the same standards that California producers observe and that California consumers want. We want animals not mistreated. We want food products that are safe and are not going to make us sick.
Now, cost is obviously a big issue right now, and that is resonating with a lot of families, even here in California. And with inflation, I spoke to the Secretary of Agriculture about this, Tom Vilsack. He said that is his main priority, keeping food costs down. And there are estimates that this could raise prices 9% over what they are right now. So what do you say to people who say this is just not the time for this?
All of these arguments were trotted out by the factory farmers in 2008 and 2018. And California consumers rejected them. What we have seen is that industry consolidation in this meat conglomerate sector has been driving up prices during the pandemic. Even before Prop 12 or any other ballot measure took effect, we saw food prices going up. So it's the factory farms that are the culprit. Giving animals space, allowing animals an opportunity to turn around. I mean, can we not afford to do this? If we can't afford to treat animals decently, we probably shouldn't be raising them in this way. There must be basic standards of decency in our society when it comes to the treatment of animals and food safety. And if people eat a little less pork, if they eat fewer eggs and have plenty of options in the marketplace for other foodstuffs, because, we're going to have a race to the bottom in terms of mistreating animals, that we're going to confine them so terribly that we cut all sorts of corners. I mean, to me, this is a really terrible argument that the industry is advancing. We have to have the cheapest food by cutting corners at every step of the way to sacrifice animal welfare and food safety. An awful argument.
Now, this is something that the average person, the average meat eater doesn't think about a lot. People that like to eat some meat, some dairy, when they actually see the conditions that some of these animals are kept in, they're appalled by the reality that these animals face during their short lives. So is there anything that the average person, the average consumer can do about it besides spending, a bajillion dollars on, everything organic or making sure that it says this and that on the package? It seems for a lot of people it becomes all or nothing, where you sort of either turn a blind eye or, go vegan completely.
Yeah. Well, listen, Californians know what they want on this. They voted in a landslide fashion all over the state, across 58 counties, to say that if we're going to raise animals for food and consume them, then there has to be some minimal standard of care. That's all that this is about. It's just giving them space. This is not some elaborate set of animal welfare standards where you're socializing the animals and doing this and that. We're just giving them some space. Yes, we're dealing with inflation. It's across commodities. It's gasoline, it's food, it's everything in our society. But I don't think that Californians want to sacrifice humane treatment of animals. And I think this court case doesn't really have anything to do with the temporary inflationary circumstance. This is about states' rights and the federal government. Do we want 5 justices of the Supreme Court to substitute their judgment for more than 7.5 million Californians who said that we should not have this sort of torment, this immobilization of animals raised for food? We're going to raise animals for food, and what a sacrifice it is for those animals to endure the suffering that they endure on these factory farms. The least we can do is give them some decent treatment, the very least.
So we have the court case going in front of the Supreme Court this fall, October, I believe it's set for. What's next for your center? What's next in the fight for animal welfare?
Well, I think what's really noticeable is that 60 companies, after Prop 2, which was approved in 2008 by Californians, after that passed in a landslide vote, 63% of voters favored it, more than 60 companies in major food retail, McDonald's, Costco, Burger King, Safeway, Kroger, Walmart, they all said we're opposed to gestation crates, we're opposed to confinement battery cages, we're going to alter our supply chain. So we, in addition to protecting Prop 12 from this outrageous legal attack in our judicial system, we need, as consumers, all of us, to hold McDonald's and Walmart and Costco accountable. They can procure pork and eggs and other animal products from farms that are observing basic humane treatment standards. And I think that's going to be so important for all consumers to raise their voices, shop in a way that's conscious and reflects our sensibilities about cruelty to animals in our society.
All right, Wayne Pacelle with the Center for Humane Economy. Thanks for joining us today on CBS News Bay Area.
Thank you so much.